everyone, welcome to Wicked.west.books. My name is Meg West, and today I'm going to be showing you all of the books that I bought during January and February, and that includes the books that I bought at the library sale. So I've got a stack of books and 2 bags of books to go through. I am going to start with the stack because these are books that I chose to buy on a little bit less of a whim, or books that were bought for me as Valentine's and anniversary present. So the first book of the year that I bought was The Fowl Twins by Owen Colfer. This is the first book in what is at least 2 books in the series following Artemis Fowl's younger twin brothers. That's literally all I know about it, but I love Artemis Fowl and those books, so I'm looking forward to getting back into that universe. And even if Artemis is not going to be the main character, I get to see all of the side characters again. The next 2 my husband and I bought together, and that is The Plague of Giants and A Blight of Black Wings by Kevin Hearn. These are the first 2 books in his epic trilogy that starts off with 11 characters that are point of view, and the second book has 12 characters that are point of view. I read the first book, and I will probably be reading the second book really soon, except then I have to wait for the third book, which is going to be pretty hard. While we were in line to get those signed, I found a German language book sitting on the shelf. This is an absolutely adorable, maybe not the most meaningful language book, but it has English pronunciation for German words in it. There are lots of different languages that you can get these books in, and since I'm learning German, this was way too fun and I had to buy it. An example of what's in this book, Süß is sweet. This next book was a Valentine from my husband. Legion by Brandon Sanderson. We own the first 2 books in this kind of short story trilogy on Audible. I read them last year and absolutely fell in love with them. And the only way to get the third book is to buy the first 2 books all over again. So my husband went ahead and did that in physical form for me, so I will actually get to finish this trilogy of short stories at some point this year. This next book is the first of 2 parts that I got from my husband for our 5-year wedding anniversary, and the first book is Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, which is the first book in the Cosmere-along, of which there is a link to it in the description. If you want to join, you still have some time to read Elantris for the first live show, which I think the date is changing, so I don't know when exactly that's going to be, but this is the first published book by Brandon Sanderson, and probably the best place to start in his reading because it is not his best work, and you don't have to take a step down to it if you're used to what he writes in the other books. The second book that I picked out for our anniversary was The Secret Commonwealth by Philip Pullman. This is the second book in the Book of Dust trilogy that Philip Pullman is in the process of writing. These take place around the original His Dark Materials series. The first book, La Belle Sauvage, took place way before the Golden Compass when Lyra was just a baby, and this one actually takes place when Lyra is about 20 years old, so I'm really hoping that the fact that Lyra is the main point of view character in this book will bring back everything I loved about the original trilogy and did not like about the first Book of Dust. Next we get into sack number 1, which came from the library sale. A lot of these books were extreme impulse buys, so I might not know anything about them. So the first thing I picked up, actually literally the first thing I picked up while we were there, is this teeny tiny book of German poetry because, again, learning German, and it's a book that's the size of my hand. I couldn't say no to it. And to kind of go with that one, I picked up a teeny tiny German English dictionary. This thing is so small and so cute and fits the size of the poetry book. The next book in that bag is Illustrated Copy of Grimm's Fairy Tales, complete and unabridged. It has a fair list of the Grimm's brothers' stories, but does not include my favorite, which is The Bird, the Mouse, and the Sausage. because that book is ridiculous. Another book that I picked up was Nancy Drew, number 69. This is the case called Running Scared, and I just really like Nancy Drew books, and this was adorable and looked completely different than my other Nancy Drew books, so I had to have it. From the fantasy table, I picked up 3 first books in a series, of which I know absolutely nothing about each one, and I don't really want to know anything about it until I start reading them. So those books are Ascending of Dragons by Jane Yolen, which I'm now seeing on the back is actually book 3 in this. These next two say book 1 on the cover, so they're definitely book. The Glass Warrior by Robert E. Vardaman, book 1 of the Demon Crown trilogy. Not a clue what it's about, but it's the first book in a new sci-fi fantasy series that is adult, and this is how I used to get into them, is by buying them randomly and seeing if I enjoyed them. More often than not, I enjoyed them. And the next one is The Thief's Gamble by Juliet E. McKinnon. This is the first tale of the Enarin, and all it says on the cover is never bet against a wizard. You might win. The next 2 books come from the same series that I will probably eventually unhaul these books later because I'm trying to collect them in a special hardback edition because they're gorgeous that way. But I saw them and could not resist them, and I would like to read the entire quartet all the way through again, so buying the books I'm missing will help in that process. And those books are book 1, which is The Lost Years of Merlin by T.A. Barron, and yes, this copy is kind of in pieces, but story-wise, it's all there. And the other book in the series is The Mirror of Merlin by T.A. Barron. I read this in high school, all 5 of them, and which means it's been over 10 years since the last time I've read these books. But, it's Merlin before he becomes Merlin. And the last 2 books from bag number 1 are Prodigal Son by Deborah Mullins. I believe this is kind of a urban fantasy mystery kind of thing. It is book 3 in the series, but usually with these, you can follow them pretty well and treat them as standalone books, and I'm hoping that that's something I get to do with that one. And if it's amazing, I will go back and buy the first books. He's a bounty hunter, so I'm not sure how much murder mystery is in this, but it looked interesting. This next one is a 100% cover buy. The Horned Owl by Lou Clifton. This is a mystery. It says so on the front cover. A Sam Chinto mystery. This one I do believe is actually the third installment. So yes, this is the 3rd one. I'm hoping that it doesn't rely too heavily on the first 2 books in order to solve the mystery in this one, or it will be really boring. Now for the books in the second one, of which there's only 1 book and the rest are audiobooks in my favorite way possible. So my hardback book is The Valcourt Heiress by Catherine Coulter. Catherine Coulter was the first romance author that I ever read. Thank you, Grandma. And I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I've actually read any other Catherine Coulter books other than that first one. I don't remember having done so, but I liked that romance, so I've got now a hardback one to add to my 3 or 4 paperbacks that I bought a couple years ago and still haven't read. I was wrong, there were 2 books in this that aren't audiobooks. I also have Heartlight by T.A. Barron. Don't actually know what it's about. It seems kind of like a mystery. Her grandfather goes missing and she has to find him, but there will of course be elements of magic thrown into this because it's T.A. Barron. So, into my playaways. I absolutely love the playaways. They are my favorite thing, and they are extremely expensive if you buy them brand new, but if you buy them from the library, they are also an extremely affordable way to get audiobooks. So if you don't know what a playaway is, it comes in one of these orange plastic containers, and this itself is the book. Usually I throw away the actual containers because they take up a lot of space for something that is so small. So this is Dark Lover by J.R. Ward, but when you turn these around, they are little MP3 players. You put a AAA battery in it. It's got all of the settings that you could possibly want, and it's just an audiobook on an MP3 player. That's it. It's super cool, and I love these so much. It is the first book in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series, which I have been wanting to get into, so now I've got the first book on audiobook. The next playaway that I have is Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. So far, I have only read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, but I loved it very, very, very much, so hopefully this helps me get into her other books, and I can find some motivation to expand on my Jane Austen. I also found The White Rose by Amy Ewing. Is that how her name is pronounced? I've done no research. Again, don't really know what this is about. I kind of vaguely remember it making the rounds a year ago or so, but I don't actually know what it's about. And the final book I have to talk about today, I did not save best for last, but you know, whatever. A Love Like Blood by Marcus Sedgwick. I gather from the, blood that this is probably a romantic vampire story, and I can never get too many of those. So that is it. That is 2 months worth of book buying, and other than the book signings that I'm going to, I really need to stop buying books for the year, or at least for the first 6 months, because now my room's a bit of a mess. It was a bit of a mess to begin with, but now it's even more of a mess. So anyway, that is it. That is all I have to show you today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like, and feel free to subscribe to my channel if you have not done so already. I post videos every Wednesday. Have a wicked day.